Hello, my fellow fans of Big E. Today I am reviewing Warhammer 40k Darktide, a game that had what can generously be described as a bumpy launch. Despite that, over the years since then, it has slowly but surely grown into a worthy sibling to the Vermintide games. Story: the hive city of Birmingham is in trouble. Mobian 6th returned from a long stint invading Blighttown, and Miyazaki's trolling has taken its toll. Infiltrated by Braphog enjoyers, the regiment has been fully corrupted by Granddaddy Nurgle. Now some people will say he is the most benevolent and loving Chaos God, but personally, I would much rather be pegged by a Slaneshi goat demon and have my arms rot off, but that's just me. Shockingly, having your best equipped and trained military force rise up against you after arriving home puts the entire sector at risk. With conventional options failing, they are forced to turn to the Inquisition for help, who have never ever made the situation worse. They've also promised to not pull a Krypton and press the big funny button.
Recommendation: Exterminatus.
You play as some criminal, who may or may not be guilty of a crime. Imperial records are unclear on this. Unwilling to risk getting caught, dropping soap in the shower, the rebel leader orders an escape attempt. During this, you manage to be somewhat useful to an inquisitorial agent who was overseeing the prisoner transport. Your reward for all that hard work? Your death sentence is commuted, and instead you will now fight for the Inquisition. A role which only has a 99.9% mortality rate. Darktide currently features 4 base classes, rather than specific characters, and rather than having careers for each character with limited modifiers, like Vermintide, you instead have a skill tree to build your own. Each class also has 3 personalities per gender, excluding ogryn, who, like dwarves, can't differentiate between male and female. Each has a different voice actor and unique dialogue with other characters.
We pay the fucking bills, now get the fuck off my phone line!
We will go through each class from most to least based. Ogryn, the big man, smasher of skulls, chugger of pints, and the eater of hounds. It's Big Barry himself. Ogryns come with the best voice lines and the biggest guns. Whilst the other 3 classes share most weapons between them, Ogryns have a fully unique and independent set of equipment, though many of these boil down to, what if Pointy Stick was bigger? They are also the only class to get a shield. And yes, aggroing the enemy and sitting in a corner whilst blocking is a legitimate strategy. The 3 branches for Ogryn are the simplest to explain even after the recent rework. Left side is carry big stick, hit with big stick. Middle is the tank branch. And finally, the right branch, how you turn an Ogryn into an American. Ogryns also get to select from the 3 best grenade options: Rock, Cluster Lag, and Big Lag Bomb. If you would like to meet an Ogryn in real life, then visit a pub somewhere in this geographic area. Circa. You might get angry at the Sparkhead's placement on this list. I counter with the fact that Circa lets me roleplay as Palpatine. Also, the voices in my head demanded it.
Delusional, can you believe that? So I made him go away.
Psychos are defined by their class ability and blitz choice, rather than which branch of their skill tree they focus on. Brain Burst, which should be self-explanatory. Bio Lightning. Assail, which are just homing throwing knives. Abilities. Bending Shriek, also known as the Psycho's emergency button to stop them becoming a jihadi. Shield. The meta pick, if you want to play the hardest game modes, because fat sharks think gunners being god tier is funny. Scry's Gaze lets you laugh as a zealot for about 30 seconds. Veteran. Do you want to play Call of Duty instead of having to touch the filthy enemy? Then the Veteran is for you, featuring multiple flavours of shooting, including but not limited to Cowboy style, Doom style, and Suppressing Fire is best fire. You can force the vet into a melee build that may or may not get you flamed in chat, depending on if you picked stealth. Veterans also have some of the best voice lines and have lovely conversations with their friends, the Ogryns. They also have a dedicated ability for shouting. Zealot. Shouty is down here at the bottom because Zealot attracts some of the worst and most annoying players. Looking at you, knife zealots, who like to speedrun. Though it also has some of the best players you will ever meet, who will clutch a situation that seems impossible. Zealots feature a huge survivability thanks to regenning through the power of faith in Big E, high DPS by doing autistic slapfight speed attacks, and also get access to the full range of ranged weapons, with a decent number of talents to buff them. Zealots are the most versatile class overall, and they're genuinely hard to build badly, using the book ability as the team's get out of jail free card. while stealth is for trolling your team or saving the day. Darktide still maintains most of the same melee combat basics that made me like Vermintide, but the tweaks to make everything faster and more fluid to help deal with the larger percentage of range combat that occurs. This has also made melee combat more accessible and easier to learn. Having toughness as a constantly recovering secondary health bar is a great way to both allow for tankier classes and to make minor mistakes less of an instant punishment. Ranged combat is solid and satisfying with all types of weapons. The only thing it lacks is any kind of attachment system for sights, though this was data mined as a possible feature previously. All the classes can easily be turned into near full ranged builds, whilst the Psyker can go full melee instead. Couple that with a sizable and slowly expanded selection of weapons, and you can generally bodge a class into just about any role. It might not be meta, but as long as you can complete an eretic, that's good enough for me. Which takes me on to the topic of difficulty and game modes. These are split into 3, though technically 4 modes: Normal plus eretic, the new Mortis Trials mode, and finally, Havoc, the troll option. Havoc is a joke mode made to torture you unless you run meta builds, and even then it is full on CBT. Outside of getting cosmetics, I hate this mode and avoid it. Mortis Trials is an arena-based wave defense with roguelike upgrades to pick every set number of waves. Originally, I wasn't sold on Mortis being very good. However, after playing for a bit longer, I've come to realise a few things. It offers up the quickest and most direct path to full-on combat, with minimal downtime. Great for messing about with new builds and weapons. 2. The modifiers are actually enjoyable and funny. Lagging my entire team with the different ogryn grenades has been very entertaining. It also offers a solid way for new players to get used to the game, most notably for transitioning to higher difficulties, thanks to the shorter match times, and failure caused by these new players is also much less punishing. The meat of the game is in normal / eretic, which have a large number of possible modifiers that can make the missions easier or harder, depending on your build as well as your teammates, with the exception of Pox Gas, which is there exclusively to lag you and waste time. Unlike Vermintide, that has each mission being a unique story with the same mission controller, Darktide has much more variance. Different controllers will give a unique set of dialogue and often drop extra tidbits of lore and story. This helps with replayability on the still somewhat limited number of maps. Outside of this, missions play similar to Vermintide, with the AI directive dynamically changing enemy spawns and compositions to fight you as you progress. Objectives are still the same: hold point, pick up thing, press button. Simple stuff that even an ogryn can understand. It's a simple gameplay loop, absolutely satisfying to just scythe through groups of enemies, or slog it out with the bosses. Excluding Havoc, difficulty is split into 5 options. These control the base amount of health and damage from the enemy, as well as the number of consumable spawns and ammo you can find at the missions. Difficulty 4 is the most enjoyable for me. It offers the best blend between difficulty and still having the ability to carry a mission in the event of a weak team, or a series of unfortunate incidents. A horde shooter would not be complete without a decent variety of enemies, and Darktide just about managed to supply them. Poxwalkers, literal cannon fodder purely in the game to show off gore effects and dismemberment. Bruisers, who have enough self-preservation to wear some kind of armour. Shooters, they shoot. Did I really need to tell you that? Next come the elites. Gunners, who are trying to settle the debate of ballistic versus las. Reapers, gunners who ate their vegetables. Shotgunners, a mystery what they do. Ragers. Maulers, former welders gone postal. Rushers, who in another life could have been a ballerina. Bulwarks. Specialists, hounds, future ogryn snacks, mutants, part bull, part rock target, flamers, former grillers, now banned for life, snipers, how come they get scopes and a laser, trappers, fatties, they go boom, bombers,
Stinky.
and finally bosses, Beast of Nurgle, giant puppies, who are blocked from using Uber, Plague Ogryn, this is why you don't give Ogryn steroids, Chaos Spawn, Hungry Boys, Demon Host, don't fall for it, Captain and Champions, Cringe Shield users. Most weapons are generally shared between the classes, excluding Ogryn, as well as a handful of class-specific weapons and Circa staves, meaning you have a decent choice for both melee and ranged options. And thanks to an update last year, 90% of the RNG involved in getting a decent weapon has been removed. You only need to check the max of these stats here, as you can change everything else yourself. Once you have a weapon you like, just use it and earn mastery by simply having it equipped during the mission, or feed our beloved Hadron copies of the weapon to speed up the process. This was much better than the cock and ball torture that was the old system of having to hope everything turned out perfectly when you upgraded a weapon, and then only having 2 changes you could make before being blocked. To make it even better, you also had to destroy the weapons with the blessing you wanted to be able to transfer them.
The graphics.
40k's aesthetic can best be described as everything is a Gothic cathedral, but someone has accidentally added a few too many digits to the size field. Fatshark manages to fully realise this on every level, as the city and the ship are both absolutely beautiful. They also don't neglect the grimy underside in the back streets and the slums, similar to where you might find your local crack addict. Speaking of crack addicts, have you seen how beautiful everyone looks? Many people on the forum have complained about this and are begging for Fatshark to add waifus into the game. Now, as an Argenta simp, I do sympathise with them. However, they seem to forget that people in the 40k universe live in the equivalent of 1800 London, with smog turned up to 11, whilst also dealing with weather conditions ranging from skin-peeling desert heat all the way up to Arctic ball freezer planets. Combine that with most Warhammer characters being British, and as a native, I can confirm that we are not an attractive people. And throw in a diet much worse than a daily Gonster and Kebab combo, and you get some very fugly but accurate looking characters. Excluding my beloved Mummy Hadron, of course. Moving on from that autistic sidetrack, I really can't stress how good Darktide looks. The performance issues from launch are effectively gone, unless you are a console peasant. Ray tracing and all the extra effects really do enhance the visuals, if you have the power to enable them. But even without them, the amount of effort and work that has gone into the environment is insane considering how few people even notice it. Darktide also has one of the best game soundtracks to date, thanks to Jesper Kide, who is also responsible for the bangers from the early Assassin's Creed games. Darktide would not feel the same without this music, especially the boss fights. Complaints. I have been a Fatshark enjoyer since the first Vermintide. I put up with all sorts of nonsense and odd choices that they have made over the years. So, I promise the wave of moaning that is to come is from a place of love. Originally, everyone expected a larger story than we currently have. I remember hitting level 30 with my friend, and both of us going, is this it? Where is the rest? Since launch, all we have had is a drip feed of story missions that barely ever follow the same plot thread. Over a year and a half ago, we finally had some progress when we killed the Karnak twins, and clearly got closer to Wolfer, the head heretic, only for Fatshark to resurrect Linda in an out-of-game video, and then start following a different thread in the next update. Cosmetics are some of the most hit or miss I have seen in any game. They range from exceptionally cool and unique, though slightly overpriced, to literal colour swaps of default skins, and in the worst cases, literally the same skin for sale twice. At the same time, they have added new weapons and completely forgotten to make the free cosmetics available for them. However, I will give them credit, as some of the coolest armour is stuff that you can unlock for free. Darktide is still missing basic features like a scoreboard and single player lobbies. Thank God both of those can be fixed with mods. However, it's exceptionally silly to keep the scoreboard out whilst adding harder and harder difficulties, as it makes it much harder to tell if your build is pulling its weight. Also, why are certain penances still locked into private lobbies? After the difficulty rebalance for them, there is zero reason for it, as players aren't going to be throwing entire matches over it. I could go on for a lot longer, but then most of this video would just be me weighing. I still believe in Fatshark. I know eventually they will fix most of these issues, but they're just making the same mistakes they already made in the early days of Vermintide 2, which were mostly just a lack of direction and poor communication with players. Darktide is a great game hamstrung by Fatshark being Fatshark. If you can accept that they operate weirdly, the game will provide hours of fun for you, and if you have any, your friends. The game is regularly on sale for 50% off and highly worth it at that price. Just don't fall for the FOMO tactics in the cosmetic shop. For those of you who have previously watched my videos, you may have noticed that I have gotten a new mic. This does mean I can no longer offer the authentic Xbox Live experience when calling others slurs online. But this is a price I'm willing to pay for your enjoyment. More videos to come, so if you enjoyed, click the thing and ding my bell. But for now, good goon and goodbye.